What do you think those guys feel, probably knowing it's not the first time they knew where they were going to belong, but the public will see the depth chart? How do you think those guys
Yeah.
process that from a maturity standpoint?
Yeah, I think I mean, honestly, I think these day and age, I mean, we all were like, I shouldn't even say day and age. So let me just dial that back. Everybody wants that validation that you want to show, number one, to you prove, validate yourself that the work that you put in, that you earn a spot. And so, everybody's where they're at right now. But then also, I know that, it's one of those things you got to continue to, prove yourself that you not only earned it, but then deserved that spot. And so it's just kind of like that instant gratification. You kind of know where you're at the starting point. I mean, obviously, some guys are pretty locked in just based on what they've done in the past and what they've done in the present, which is through camp. But the one thing I will say is you got to go earn it, man, and you got to go play. And now I would say the silly time's over once spring ball's over, like all the cupcakes and ice cream is over. Now you're playing for a tangible outcome, and that's obviously in the scoreboard. And so, as exciting as it was to see it, and you kind of get into practice where there's probably some scout team stuff going on, and you kind of get the pecking order of, you remember Damon, like, all right, so and so gets this many reps and this, so you can kind of forecast how the game goes. But you can't let your guard down because the plays that Damon gets, if we were in the running back room, Jay Foreman might get, or as far as the looks defensively. So now it comes down to intention when you're practicing, right? And it's a hard thing to do. We went through it, right, Damon? It's just like you're excited to see where you're at. You're going to get in the game, and then that's and you got to make sure you pivot hard, away from that, because now you're going to fight a team that's potentially going to bite back. I think the first game is always the hardest, and it's probably a better opponent than normally you would play. And obviously Nebraska, played at Minnesota, so I'd probably, obviously apples to apples, Minnesota's probably a harder team to play. But in this pivotal year, potentially, or in theory, Cincinnati's a team that, presents some danger. And so you got to make sure you got to expect you're going to play the best version of Cincinnati come Thursday night.
Mm.
Jay, as as we kind of see the depth chart and the way things have worked out and whatever we've been able to see of practice as well, is there a position group that you look at that you're excited to see on Thursday, either just because you like the guys in there or maybe you're not sure what you're going to see?
Uh, well, I think, I'm probably excited to see what the offensive line is doing. Obviously, I think Elijah, being, I guess a co-starter, but obviously number three, I guess potentially where he's at. And then obviously you see some emergence of, Gunnar Gatula. I want to see the improvement, in continuity, what they have, what they can present out there, both, game one and game 12. But I think the two position groups I'm excited to see, because I think it's sneaky depth, is linebacker room where it all shakes out. And I'm a big in, role definition, and then in the running back / tight end room. Role definition, well, of those three groups or two groups, I combine the running backs and the tight ends because it's like you know who the starters are, but then the other guys are there, but they kind of work in conjunction together.
Yep.
Is going to really tell the tale of a big part of the season. Role definition is to me is obviously who the lead dogs are, right? Emmett Johnson and Lyndon Meyer, but then where does you know Carter Nelson fit in? Where does Harburg fit in? Where potentially does Bonner? He's kind of the Swiss Army knife. Where does he fit in? The linebacker room, it's like, okay, we heard about Bauer. Okay, you got Javen Wright. You got the law firm, I call him. And
Watson
then you
Trent.
got Shavers. Yep. And then, I call him law firm. Anybody you got a hyphenated name, you law firm.
Hey,
Right?
so I'm still rocking with hyphenated last name. I'm gonna have to apologize to him, but he acts like he's older than me, so I'm sure he understands. Like
Yeah.
my dude has got some maturation
Oh,
on him.
yeah, he does, and he's battle tested, and so I think it's going to be interesting to see how they all kind of come together in the continuity there, because I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to get the chance to eat, and that group along with those groups I've mentioned, is going to be a continuation of raising the bar every day and every week. So I'm excited to see how they do. They got some sneaky matchups there. The linebackers, you got to deal with that tight end and the quarterback. So that's really where you can control the game from there. feel good about, say, the back half and the nickels and all that, the kind of, unique names that they come up with, you can handle your business, right? Now, what you do with the linebacker, room, or how they play in nullifying the quarterback, the tight end, and how they can eliminate that short area passing game. Which what I mean by that is, sure, they can run mesh, they can run crossing routes, but how well do we tackle, communicate, and limit the yards after catch? That's going to be huge. And then on the flip side, we got to do the same thing to them. You got big man in the middle. They got decent, safeties up the middle. You got Antoine Peak Jr. He's a thumper.
Yeah, he brings some drama, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, I played with his dad. As a matter of fact, I changed his diapers. You know what I'm saying? I know him real well, and I know exactly how he's built. He's coming to rock. So if you come up there with your weapon on safety, you will get pistol whipped. I'm just telling you right now, he is not playing games. So if you can get Cincinnati with their backs against the wall, I think it should. I wouldn't say it's going to be an easy game, but it's going to be a relatively kind of open book story that you can write your own ending to.
Let me ask you something, because I want to get into scheme here in a second, but dad to dad here, I told you, listen, you're going to end up being right. You said you don't know much, but you do know football. Apparently, you know my son better than I do, but not just him, but the young guys in general. And Khan's not a young guy, but he's close, right? Caleb right there, Guthrie right there. But the maturity is in that back end, and they get a lot of the headlines. What are you telling those guys that situationally, even Donovan Jones, who you have to package, right? And he's going to play a ton, but there's Marshall there. Like, what are you telling the young guys with such established veterans that keep them hungry? Does that come from the culture? Is it an individual personality trait? Is it both? Is it how you rep them in practice that keeps them hungry? Like, what are you saying, knowing that those guys are so established on the back end?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, but then it's like, one, you want to make sure that
I mean, those guys are
how far
captains.
they off, right? But that doesn't mean anything though, because really, to be honest with you, we got to win. Because captains or not, we got to win. And I feel confident in the older guys, but you got to understand. Look, this is a long season. Everybody's going to need to play. We're going to play you. You've proven yourself that you're number two. So we get a chance to get you in there. We're going to see how you react. And I'm sure they've kind of dictated the reps in practice to make sure that you're just not sitting over there being okay with being okay. And that's where I think you've seen guys, the Joneses, obviously Caleb, Guthrie, where they're able to get enough reps to where they're gaining the confidence of the coaches and the other players, the veterans or not. Then also, I think more importantly, it comes to the seniors or the older guys, which are all the guys that are playing with the Hartsogs, obviously Buford, obviously Singleton, and then obviously Marshall and Wright, is that this is where you got to, pay it forward. You got to make sure they're working, because your legacy is built on what they do during and after you're gone. So it should be reloading. You should know who the foregone conclusion is of guys that are going to be big contributors next year based on what they do this year. So, and then plus, these guys, some of them have played a lot of reps, and you want to make sure that they're, at their peak come, Saturdays or whenever the games are. So you should be able to get enough amount of reps to where they're able to still stay competitive and also keep their knife nice and sharp from for game time.
Let me ask you something. We're talking. I loved what he said, because I think I know schematically what they want to do up front. Every question that I get about the defense is about stopping the run, and are they built to stop the run? He talked about being an explosive movement front, and there wasn't a more perfect guy to ask about kind of being undersized. You're used to that mug technique. Verzal told the funny story about when you got into Buffalo, and they joked about you being a 3 technique because of how Nebraska used you. You've heard Coach Snow say you stop the run with toughness. Do you equate size and girth and all of these questions that we have with Nebraska's ability to stop the run when you hear Coach Rule talk about being an explosive movement front?
Yeah, I mean, the game has changed to where the mentality of linemen, for the most part, is significantly different, right? It's position blocks, and yeah, they'll finish you and stuff, but back when I played and you played in that bubble technique or a 3, like sometimes they try to punish you. You know what I mean? And so you better be trump tight with your leverage, hand placement. You better be physically and obviously more importantly mentally strong. I think what he means is, sure, you can scheme up some stuff, get on the move, but you can't just be okay with getting on the move. You got to be explosive, and what we used to call defensively is you got to be able to burp the lineman, right? And what I mean is you got to jolt them back, knock them back, and make them kind of stymie their progress. And obviously, muddy the waters for the running backs or the quarterbacks in the RPO as far as their running lanes and their vision. And that's what he means is that they'll be able to stop the run. Number one, by lining up, being able to play with superior technique. I think Coach Braden is really good at coming in and kind of really harping on the details, because that's really what it's going to come down to. They got probably enough size to be straight up like isolation and being able to play. Now you got to get to your mindset is that we will play longer and harder with better technique and mental mindset to win these games. And yet you got to be extremely tough, right? Toughness. Everybody thinks toughness. This is the funny thing. Everybody that plays football is generally tough, right? And
for the most part, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean the outlier are the guys that aren't tough. They kind of look significantly different, and that's just because by position or just mental makeup. True tough football players is just a mentality, and that's just something that you got to really get yourself to, right? It's a culture thing. It's you got to demand it out of yourself. You got to envision it. You got to kind of lie to yourself, because I always say this: the Jay Foreman that walked out of here going to Buffalo, driving to Buffalo with about the same amount of anxiety that Nebraska players are about to play this weekend, wondering if I'm really that good, right? Do I should I turn around and go home if I'm really that good? Is not the same one as a freshman. When I was playing starting as a redshirt freshman in 1995 on arguably the greatest team probably in Nebraska history, one of the greatest teams of all time, out there, and then eventually it clicked to where, okay, this is what you need to do. And so it's more of a mentality thing and a prideful thing, and it's a lot of times you can clean that up by effort and busting your tail to the ball, because when you want to get somewhere and exactly what you're doing, there's nobody that can block you. And really, to be honest with you, the third point is like the communication allows the defensive line to play with what Coach Rule says it being very explosive and vicious, where they want to go. Because the worst thing that you can do at the second and third level, and this from coaching, Damon, is have these guys not knowing where they're going.
Yeah.
Because look, they got a hard job. They got to line up. They got 2 or 3 guys that can block them. My job was to allow Jason Peter and Christian and Ogard and Grant and all those guys and Mike Rucker and let them go do their thing, and I could, then I find my way and get in where I fit in. And that's where you really would take the turn. Once they get their non-negotiables down, say like the first, second, what is, I guess their top, 26, 27 players. I don't know how many they take, but you just say like your travel roster, right? So they say you have your non-negotiables with your, your playing units, your non-negotiables, what you're going to do every single day. Then you learn from, okay, how can I be better at a 50-50 ball? How can I be better at like really attacking this lineman, or maybe cutting off the angle in this play where I'm stressed as far as the running game goes? And so you got to just understand in this game right here, Cincinnati's going to probably come out with 2 or 3 new wrinkles, right? They'll show it in the first 2 or 3, 4 series. Then they got to play football. So as long as you just really, really lock in on the fundamentals and communication, even if it kind of works out a little bit, you'll be able to, play another play. And that's really where it comes down to it. And then the toughness will come into it, where the training is, where you've been able to be in a physical training camp to really wear those guys out.
So, Jay, we were talking earlier about Williams Winnari in his role on this team, right?
Yeah.
He's a unique body type for this defensive line at this group, right? 6'7", almost 270 pounds, somewhere in there, but really athletic at that frame. Looks like a guy that could just as easily stand up as put his hand in the ground. Like when you see a guy with that body type and his ability, what if you're defensive line coach Terry Braden or defensive coordinator John Butler, what do you do with a Williams Winnari?
Hey man, first of all, like I've been to just a couple practices, man. My man has like really changed his body.
Hey, do you? Can I just tell? Do you remember watching him? and we're looking at his body type. And you look at me, and I think Jay Moore is over there. I was late coming over to you, and I panicked because I thought you were going to be mad that I hadn't said something yet. And we're like, can you imagine if the lights just come on with that frame, what you could do? Do you remember those
Yeah,
discussions? Oh,
yeah,
well, apparently
yeah.
the light
And you know what?
apparently the light came on.
Yeah, and that, you got to give him credit. I think you come in and I think sometimes look, he's probably been out big probably since his like sophomore year in high school. I bet, right? So you just, I mean, no, no, just like, hey, look, he's just out there just running through cats. And so when you get up there and everybody's bigger, faster, stronger, you got to really find a different way to, be a better football player. And you got to give him credit. Give him credit for this, where you have to probably had some hard talks, had to deal with the pressure coming here, reshaped his body. And I think, I can't speak for the coaches, but I think he's probably made some plays to where I think the best thing you do is like, okay, to sit in and say, okay, dude, okay, what do you know? What do you like to do? And then match that with in your scheme and say, okay, this is your job. Go destroy everybody. I think the more that I think the less he does, or like as far as like all like the different types of stuff, and allow him to get that confidence and play to his natural ability, I think he'll be able to make up for any type of like discrepancies of what whether he's in a six or tight seven or whatever. I think you just let him get out there and use his natural God given ability because he's strong, right? He's out by being in better shape and reshaping his body. He can play longer than he could in the spring, and he seems like he's willing. It's not.
Yeah.
I think sometimes where I play with guys, and this is just in the NFL. I play with guys that look like that. Were just freak athletes. They didn't want to do anything besides just do less.
Mm.
He's a kid I think that really wants to. He just got to get his technique together, and then the rest is going to be history.
He seems like a quiet guy too. So he kind of comes across as a little aloof too. Sometimes those guys are
Correct.
hard to read.
Yeah, but like I like that, man. I like
But
looking at his history.
actually, me too, especially in the D lineman because they come across as kind of nutty.
Yeah, and that's fine. But you know what? Look, he just got here in the spring, right?
Yeah,
So that's what. Well, probably January. So February. He's still trying to get his feet wet and learn. The team and the players in the room and trying to establish himself. I respect that. If he, number one, if he's an introvert, I just need you to be an extrovert. 4 hours a week. That's it. I don't need it. You don't got to be. I don't care what you know. What I'm saying.
and that
I just
is that what you told? Is that what you told Sam Adams?
Hey, I just need you to be an extrovert 4 days a week. That's it. I don't care about that, right? And handle your business. So I think he's fine, man. I think he's just probably learning, and every day is a work day for him. And I think he's up there on the starting. And so look, man, he's a guy that you got to earn it, and now he's got to go out there and really put it on display. All the work he's put into this off season. So and there's a lot of guys that are like this. Everybody on that team, which is crazy. You have a team. Sure, you got the guys that are always on the internet or whatever, but you got every single one of those guys that, like, let's just say you're 22 guys that run out there, and the 25. Let's just specialists as well, right? Everybody's got something to prove. There's nobody that's like, okay, I'm Travis Hunter, and
Hey, that's
something to prove.
probably accurate. That's
Nobody feels
No,
like
no,
they made it.
that's factual.
not a one. Even for a guy
No,
like
everybody has.
he wants to prove different conference, same dude, right?
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Like with him, right? He's came in and you can see the maturity of him, right? And he's got a little bit of swaggerlicious to him. And I'm always leaning toward the brother light skins. We do our thing. What I'm saying, we just let we back, right? But
That's why.
what?
That's actually why I like Makai too. He didn't let he doesn't let the smooth taste fool you.
Nah, hey man, Bone Thugs of Heart me. He's gangsters in the mug.
He is all. Listen, I already know. I already know.
Hey, he on 100. Where he wake up on 100. You got to get him to the starting block. But I think though, really with Dane Key, when you're thinking about it, here's what people will do, right? You're in the SEC, which they think is essentially one step down from the NFL, right? So he had a good year. You know what people are saying? Here's what people would say. Oh, well, you did it at Kentucky. Okay, but can you do it again?
Yeah.
And that's where, but that's also the thing. That's a great coaching point. Like, look, you get in the NFL, you have a good year, and say you're on the Browns or whatever, and say you end up at the Eagles, they'll be like, oh, can you do it for the Eagles? There's no, and I'm not comparing Nebraska to the Eagles, but I'm just saying there's always doubt. There's doubt every single year, and so that's good. And so therefore you're going to get, ideally maximum effort and production, and obviously the work ethic, because that will, if he sets the table, then the same thing with Barney. Okay, you had a really good year as a freshman, but can you do it as a sophomore? Dylan, can you take a big jump? Emmett, you've never been the guy. Can you handle it
That's funny.
Okay, we've seen 3 games, but can you do it
all
at
the
4
examples
times?
I use?
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And,
It's funny you use those
Oh.
examples because that's exactly how I feel. So even for a guy like Barney, who, by the way, do you have a practice comp for Barney that I
Man,
could relate?
I play with
I'm talking
play with a brother named Kevin Williams.
the little receiver, 85.
I play with him in Buffalo. K Dub was on point all day long. But in our time, Barney reminds me personality wise of Jock Allen.
Yeah, just relentless.
Just relentless, and obviously always, look, and that's what you need. You need guys like that on the team. But K Dub, like when I played with him in Buffalo a couple years. That's how he was. Him and a guy that his name was Eric Brown. We used to call him Wolfman. He was a safety. Those are the type of guys that are truly competitors, and that's just who he is. And it's needed. And everybody has something to prove defensively. You got guys like Judy. Can you take a big step up? You're a senior leader. Van Poppel. You got talent, and you shown. Can you do it? Everybody has it. I mean, this is a great time to be a coach, to where you don't have anybody that has like the senioritis or I made it-itis, and they all got to go out there and prove it.
I'm so glad you said that about Makai. He was over one day, and I didn't believe that he was over 200 pounds. And he looked dead at me at the dinner table, and he said, he said, yeah, I'm 202. I said, man, you're not 202. He looked dead at me. He said, you got a scale? Like, that's how he said it. I was like, I think you're a guest, but you said it says conviction and hair on your chest. I'll cave. I was like, no, man, I believe you. Like, he does not play around.
No, I mean, it's an opportunity for him. I mean, it's all these stuff are, right now, like the good thing about this team right now, like I said, I'm not coaching, but I'm just saying for just the outside looking in. There's probably been years when we had, Grandpa Mike Riley and all those guys. You probably just like, okay, we got a few options, right? And only, even smaller answers. Now they got a lot of options, in legitimate scenarios. But now these guys got to go out there and be the answers, and that's a good position to be in. Now the hardest part is, you work hard to make. Where you have legitimate options, where guys, like Makai, and then you have Mosey, who done a great job of, transition from receiver to running back. And you got, the Carter Nelson and Harburgs and a lot of options, right? Different body types, Bonners and all those guys, right? Now they got to go out there and be the answers. And you won't become the answer off of one game. You have to be the answer, consistently being that guy. And that's how you consistently be in the hunt. The guys that turn from options to answers, which we were fortunate enough to play with a ton of guys that took on that opportunity, and that's what this team has to do right now.
That's our guy, Jay Foreman, former Husker. Jay, great stuff. Let's talk again soon.
Hey,
Damon, are you going? Do you got a game Thursday?
Listen, man, I'm going with who pays me more. No, I'm just playing. Yes, I'm going. I'm torn, man. It's Micah's first start, and I haven't slept in 2 weeks, man. I got a lot of guilt, but it's easier to be replaced at the high school level than it is for play fly, man. So I will bells and whistles on, man. I'm in Kansas City.
I got you. Yeah, man. But Westside, they probably stream those games, so you'll be able to do everything, right?
I mean, we had production meetings last week. Listen, it's Kyle's first broadcast, right? So I mean, this will be about as buttoned up. I'll have very little wiggle room in my pregame. This dude's gonna have me on point. So I'd like to dabble and watch, but I need his blessing first, man. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, Crooks is he should have been a coach. I've never met a play-by-play guy that loves football is like actual football as much as he does.
Hmm.
I mean, he's as much
Well,
into
that's good. That'll
scheme
make
as
it good.
he is like the delivery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a football guy.
Yeah, well, that's good then, man. It's that'll make it easier. Listen, you guys are vets. You guys will get it. Once the game starts, you guys are in it.
Yeah.
You know, you get a little break.
But believe
You
me,
got to give them a little elbow grease.
in the back of my mind, I'm like, is Lil Cannon or Darian Jones? Have they just house one on us? Like I will. It'll be hard not to have my attention split.
Yeah, but you'll be all right though. You know what, man? Westside got good staff. You'll be all right.
Hey, I love the.
You
I
know?
always love when you bring back the whole gun with the safety, man. Take off your safety and chase me. Gunpowder chowder for real.
Right. Reggie Herring told me you run up in there with your weapon on stage, you're gonna get pistol whipped. Dude, he said that from experience. That's he said, his roommate was Ron Simmons or whoever from Florida State. I was okay, Reggie. Yeah. Don't come in there with your weapon on safety, boy. You get pistol whipped.
All right, man.
Like,
I'm trying to get
man.
some of that swagalicious, Jay. That's all. That's all I want.
You'll be all right.
All right,
man.
All right, buddy.
I'll holler at you guys, man. Be good.
Yep.
That's Jay Foreman. Good stuff there from Jay, as always.